Hey everybody, this is David Dude with American Metal Magazine, and I've got a special guest here to say hi there. Johnny, could you introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
like to. Hi, I'm Johnny Summers. I run Zone 5 Radio, and we're doing, well, yeah, we like to mix it up a little bit, actually, here at Zone 5. We're trying to be different. I've been doing radio for years now, worked with lots of different UK, as you can probably tell, I'm British. Sorry
I
about
didn't
that.
catch that, man.
But
You know, not really. I don't have no accent either.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. What the hell's this? Yeah, there's limey doing on our radio. Yeah, no, do you know, well, I've been doing radio for a long time, and I'm a big lover of all things weird and high strangeness. You know, that really ticks my boxes, you know what I mean? So I've been into that for years as well, you know, doing conferences and all that kind of thing. Originally, Zone 5 was going to be a UFO thing, you know?
Yeah, right.
And then we just decided then, hey, you know, why aren't we doing the music with it as well? Because we had an online radio station kicking around, just gathering dust and creating listeners, no doubt, but just gathering dust. And right, okay, let's mix it up. No one seems to have done this before. Well, if they have, they're pretty low key. So let's shake it up. So that's where Zone 5 Radio came into it, basically.
You know,
right?
and I think that's really brilliant because you know, listeners want that change, you know, from music, listen to the music, come back to some talk. I think that's just a great format, and certainly UFOs are a big interest of mine, and of course Dan here, Dan Exler. Tell us about, real quick, Dan, who was your father, just out of notoriety?
Oh, well, yeah, so my dad was Bob Exler. He was a MUFON investigator. He was, I helped him with some high-profile investigations back in the early '90s, and he was featured on some unsolved mysteries and sightings and that sort of thing.
So I think when you talk to people out there, everybody has been maybe touched by some way or knows somebody that's been affected by the UFO phenomenon, and I think that's just great that you're combining music with that really interesting storyline. I think that's just great, Johnny.
Cheers, man. Yeah, and you know, the crossover, as you picked up, is prevalent everywhere. You know, it's like Dan. Dan, I just want to tell you, man, your music is awesome. I was listening to you the other night because Dan's come into our group page and just basically put it out there. Hi, I'm Dan from the band and everything else, but you may know me from my father and stuff like that. But Dan, your music, man, it rocks.
Hey,
It's
I really
absolutely
appreciate
amazing.
that, Johnny.
Yeah, well, Dave's a great songwriter, man, and I'm lucky to have some good material to work with. You know?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
what's really exciting too is that, of course, we started with, everything starts for a reason. We started with American Metal Magazine because we just thought it would be a great way to promote our band and get good connections. And as it's turned out, it's been a really a great trip because we've met all other bands, and there are some great bands out there that we've been working with and that are joining us in the magazine. And it's just been fantastic. There's an incredible amount of talent. And what we hope to do is just bring some of these bands into the limelight, kind of use the magazine as a sifter, if you will, to find those really top bands and present them to DJs around the world for hopeful play, you know. But I think
That's
it's
awesome. That's
Yeah,
a great
yeah. And on our
idea.
travels, we've met some local bands that are they don't have the exposure, but they're great, and they need a little
Right.
push.
So we have
Hey,
a
man.
real question for you then, Johnny, is
Yeah.
in with what you're doing with independent artists specifically, because that's really the people that we're representing. How does anybody ever approach you? Are they successful in getting some of their music on some of your shows or radio?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Right, well, okay, so I've been in radio now for the last part of nearly 30 years, so we've had our fair share of breaking bands through from all kinds of genres, all kinds of tastes and tickles, as we like to say, and it's been a pleasure doing it. We kind of pulled back from that a little bit with our current station, but here's the big but. I've been checking out a lot of the new artists around these days, and boy, is there talent out there.
Yeah.
And it's really tickled my pickle. You
That's
know what
good.
I mean? Because I want to get back into that, and I want to start promoting again. We had a really good run. I used to run a radio show called the Reputation Radio Show back about 10 years ago, and
Oh, wow.
we were getting some notoriety for that because we were breaking bands that, you know, just because they've got that tag unsigned, people would go, oh, you can't be any good then if you're not being signed.
Yeah.
Do people really understand just how, I was going to swear then, how goddamn hard it is to get signed? I mean, it doesn't mean to say they're no good. It just means to say you haven't heard them yet. And,
That's
hey,
right.
you're the one that's losing out, well.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that what we found getting out there, you know, we go to shows and we listen to these bands, and there's some great bands, but there's some also bands, let's just say they need a little bit more work. And I think that that proves a block for the really good bands. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to sift that out by using some online voting and other mechanisms so that we
that's
can.
good.
Yeah, we want to.
Well, because
bundle
there's so
these.
much material out there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as a DJ, could you possibly go through it all?
Exactly.
No, but you know what we try to do is for our local scene, at least, we'll try to sift out and get the best material out of the local scene, you know, and pass that along and try and give those people the push they need to get to the next level.
So that's the hope, Johnny. We hope that DJs like you will embrace that and maybe play some of our artists. Of course, us too. We want to get played as well.
Yeah, this was the whole goal. We wanted to.
but you know, man, it's not just about us. It's about the other bands as well.
Well, absolutely, and you know what, you guys have inspired me because it's kind of lit my fire again to do the independent sound, the unsigned, shall we say?
Oh wow, that's great, man.
Glad to hear it, brother.
So at the moment, let me give you some listening figures right now. Our radio station at zone5radio.com. Here's a plug for you. We're picking up last week's listening figures, top just over 50,000, and guys. That's in 1 week, unique radio listeners, and that is without even trying.
That's
so
amazing.
We haven't actually started jumping up and down on the trampoline yet, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Once we get that going with guys like you, you know, that's my only crux is having the time to do what you guys do. I used to be able to do it. I used to have the time to do it when I was working for radio stations. For instance, I worked for Virgin Radio here in the UK. We worked for a good major global company called Global, who do quite a lot of UK radio and European radio stations over here. So I've worked with some of the top-notch radio companies, and when you've got the time dedicated to do that sort of thing, it works. I just don't have the time. But to have you guys on board, filtering through some of the real quality stuff, do you know what I'm thinking of doing here, guys? I'm thinking of dedicating slots on the radio station, especially for the music that you can play through.
That's fantastic,
I can't
man.
even tell you how great that would be, man.
That is.
I'm
that's
almost jumping up and
fantastic.
down here thinking about that.
Do you reckon that would work? Do you think your people would love that?
I think that would be fantastic,
absolutely.
man. Of course that would work. It would work phenomenally. Sure.
I reckon we should get some talking done very soon, my friends, and we can move along. Because
I mean, and the thing is that if we can point to some great radio and DJ affiliates, then that just gives us that much more credibility.
Sure.
The bands will want that
much
more. Will want to talk to us.
It helps
and,
us, right,
you know,
to find those good bands. So that's what we're really excited about with the magazine. We just seem to be an interconnect that's been missing, and we're turned on about it, man. We really are.
Well, that's what I would love to do. I mean, it goes symbiotic, as you well know. I mean, the fact that you've got a great excuse me, you've got a great magazine there. Let's link that up with the website I've got going on. Let's get the traction moving along there.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we need to do. We've had some pretty good hits, but we need your help. We need everybody out there to help that's listening, all of our artists that we've been talking to. We really need that push to get us out there, because this is a great thing, everybody. This is about helping the people that really have worked so hard. Not only just the artists, but guys like Johnny here, you know, behind the lines that spend unknown countless hours, are really unsung heroes.
As we were saying earlier on, and with yourself, Dan, you're a perfect advocate for this. The crossover between the occultish, between the high strangeness, shall we say, and all that, and the rock music. It's you wouldn't think it. But
I've got a little to talk about on both subjects.
Yeah, it's amazing. I just got to tell you, it's so cool having him as the bassist. We talk about his experiences, and we found out that we were in Gulfport at the same time that all of us, Gulf Breeze, Gulf Breeze at the same time.
Yeah. At the same time that my dad and I were down there doing that investigation, the Gulf Breeze Bubba investigation.
Is that what you were doing, Dan?
Yeah, David actually lived in that town during that period of time.
And I saw a UFO, man. I was going down when they must have been taking pictures of the same one, because I remember going down the highway going, what is that out there?
Yeah.
And then
everybody saw it. It didn't hide, let's say.
No, it was there.
Well, as I said on the group page, Dan, I remember good people like Tim Good writing about your dad there.
Yeah, met Tim a few times. He, I never made it over to England to visit with him. Some of my family did. My sister knew him pretty well.
Oh, right.
Yeah. He came here though, or at least he came up to Maryland a few times when I was living up there. I met him and his wife. Real nice guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I've only met him twice, but in passing, not obviously as in depth as yourself, but in passing. Yeah. A lovely guy. Always had a lot of time for a lot of people. Always very gracious, and and I was intrigued with your dad's work there, Dan, as well, because obviously with what he's done and what have you. Am I right in thinking? Correct me if I'm wrong, please do. Was he not involved with the robotic arm of the shuttle?
Yes, correct. That's right. Yeah, so he worked for NASA. He was a robotics expert. They called everybody mission specialist who was that. So he worked for a contractor that had a contract there at the Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland. And so it was his initial concept they used for the docking mechanism for the Apollo Soyuz mission. And
oh my word!
Yeah, and
I remember watching that on the telly as a kid. Man, that's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, so they and then he worked on the robotic arm for the space shuttle and some other projects he worked on there.
And some of the reports your dad was coming back through with the anti-gravity aspect of where they would be training people for anti-gravity and stuff. It was mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah. I mean, there was. We figured out who there was another guy that went with him on the trip out to that island on that little helicopter ride, and for the life of me, I can't remember that guy's name right now, but.
Right, yeah, but that was a great story. Absolutely.
Yeah, unbelievable, huh? I mean, some of the stuff he was shown was just unbelievable,
And the helicopters that took them there, the seams on the doors you couldn't see until they opened and stuff like that. It was,
and a helicopter that can do 600 miles an hour without ripping the propeller blades off, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's right. That was it.
See, that's the ticket, right? See, that's where the the plasma generator comes into play, right?
Right. Yeah, that's it. I mean, there we go. I mean, that was all in, here we go, we're plugging Tim Good's books here as well. Well, that was all in the top secret thing there, or was it above top secret of some such? And, of course, I cut my teeth on all of that. Now, here's the other link with all of that. Tim Good was on a radio station here in the UK, BBC Radio 1, back in the late 80s, can you believe it? Mm-hmm. And it was a DJ called, oh my goodness, now I'm going to say his name is gone. Anyway, he was being interviewed on a rock music, kind of late night rock music interview. And so that's what I think has always instilled in my mind, hey, look, this rock and roll radio thing, it works for the high strangers, for the weirdness, because people want to know this stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely, they do. They absolutely do. The radio shows have been pretty popular, and then if you link the two, the fact is that, well, and we've found going around to, talking with a lot of musicians that, well, you find a lot of crossover and interest between music and the UFO phenomenon that sort of thing, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's very true.
Yeah,
Very true.
I guess there's a natural connect there when I think about it. You know, there really is.
Yeah.
Those that people that like rock and roll, we like to think outside the box, and we're not.
That's it, David. You've nailed it there, man.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, man. That is just so cool, man. I was listening to a lot of the podcasts. We're going to get some links on our website back and forth. And I just was blown away on some of the things that you guys were talking about, man. I was really enjoying it. I was listening to some of it just this morning in preparation for the interview.
Oh.
So I did have a question, though. How did you get started in all this, John? I don't know if we covered that. How did you get started initially in it? Was you mentioned part of it, but what really got it going for you?
Well, to be truthful with it, I stumbled upon radio because somebody said, hey, do you know what, Johnny, you'll be good on radio. And I was, no, I don't want to do that. You know, I'm not good enough for that. And I ended up sitting in a radio studio waiting for a friend of mine to finish his shift. And he just turned around and asked me a question live on air. And then that was the bug. That's just bit me. And I walked back in the next night and I did a show. And I was dreadful, absolutely dreadful. I was getting all the names of the songs wrong and calling everyone by a different name. You know, all the things that you do in a sweaty palm moment. And I'm like, what am I doing this for? But
that's great.
It just grabbed me, you know?
Yeah, it's a bug, all right. I just recently been bitten, and I'm still trying to get my act together. But
yeah, well, sometimes you got to get in and mess up a few times before you get it right, don't you?
Yeah.
You just do. I think that's for any art, man. You just got to get in there and
try not to, that's right, guys, and try not to take yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
Because then that comes across as too disingenuous. And I think sometimes if you're a little bit too prissy about what you do, people can feel that, you know. And
that's right.
They go, oh yeah, and they can't wait for you to fail then.
Sure.
You know?
Sure, no, Dave's got a motto, you know, it's like, you know, as far as the band is concerned, sometimes you just got to get out there and take your lumps, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take your knocks, man. That's
I think you guys have got a great way of doing it. I mean, a great way to promote your own sound, and also what a great way to create an army of like-mindeds around you. I mean, we did something similar here I'm in London. I'm in South London in the UK here, and I live in an area of South London called Croydon. A few of your listeners might know that of the area. It's a bit notorious for being a bit of a dive. But hey, if you're in Croydon and you listen to this, I'm sorry, but you know it's true. But it is though, you know. But one of the things that we started to do was do like a rock concert type of thing called Croydon Rocks. And we did that for about 4 or 5 years, and we started bringing in bands from over Europe way, and what have you, Germany, Norway, France, and the such. And it was growing, and then all of a sudden COVID hit, man, and then everything just fell apart, you know.
Right.
But since then, you know how things take their time and confidence starts to build again.
Yeah.
We decided to jump into the radio side of it because, you know, not so much damage limitation there, you know. And the rest is history. But
awesome.
I think you guys have nailed it here. I think this is great what you guys are doing.
Well, you know, we think that, you know, we're more powerful as a group than any one of our bands could ever be all out here by ourselves, right? So.
Well, you know, I think when we started to talk to people and we got acceptance from everywhere that we talked to, that's when we started to think, well, wow, you know, I think this could really work out, because there was this big disconnect between fans and venues and DJs and the whole thing, and still is. And if we can be that cross connect and bring again these talented artists to light, then we've really done something. So that's what's exciting about what we're doing.
Absolutely, and I love how you're doing it as well, by approaching areas that wouldn't normally you would associate with the type of music you guys are putting out there and putting together, because it doesn't mean to say that there aren't people out there that would appreciate it. It's just not the type of place that you would look. But I'll tell you now, I will put money on this, that once we start shouting and screaming on our Facebook group page, you're going to have people wanting to know more, because that's how it works. That's how it generates. You plant the seed and it grows, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, and we've had another interview too with another DJ, and I think we're going to continue to do this format because there's so much to learn from you guys, you know, and if we can present these artists in a format that doesn't require too much time, that you can look at and go, okay, well, yeah, these guys are great. Let's give them a little attention. Then I think maybe we have a format that could really help.
Right, and our affiliate bands, we wanted our goal is just to simply get them as much exposure as we can.
So if you're listening, if you're a band out there, I won't be able to plug here. If you're a band out there, you hear what we're talking about. Send us your music. There's no charge. We are not going to bilk you. We're not going to get you to sign up some crazy anything, okay? This is just about artists being discovered, hooking up with the right DJs with the right sources. Now, if you're an advertising, if you need something advertised on our site, we will do that. But to the artist, it's free. So
that is awesome. Yeah. And I'm so glad, you know, that you're saying that, you know, to be honest with you, Dave, because you know as well as I do that there are plenty of scam artists out there that will take the money from the, from because at the end of the day, you're working hard, you're getting your music out there, you want to be recognized for what you're doing. Yeah. And then you got some pirate comes along and, hey, for a few $100, I can get you this, that, and the other. Well, no, you can't.
Yeah,
you can't do that. Who the hell are you in the first place?
Right, and the problem is that
it doesn't work like that.
Without with the total lack of like what used to be record sales used to be a thing. Now now the money stream is kind of messed up, right? And it's backwards where that it's the musicians that are paying to play now rather than the money coming from the fans, and.
Hey, as musicians in a band, can you tell me now? Is there much money left in merchandise?
Huh, it's funny you mentioned that. Really?
Well, we have a couple of ideas, and anyway, I think it's a pretty solid
what we
concept.
did is this is a concept, and we just put it out there. We own a little shop called American Metal Merchandise, and it's just they make T-shirts, they make hats, they make all this stuff, but we've been sanctioned by these bands and authorized to use their logos in our shop. So what we're we're trying to create like a place that fans can go where you got a little cross fan action. We have a couple of T-shirts on there now, and it's great, because it is a revenue stream. We split the revenue with the band, so of course we have to make some money, but it's a very straightforward approach.
And the motivation, to for fans to want to buy the swag is that. When you do that, you're voting for your band in the top 5 or to get to the competition, and then the best bands are the ones that we send to the DJs in the end,
We want to
right?
see that you got a fan base out there. What other way to do that? To support the band and help the bands.
Well, there you go. So it replaces the old.
So instead of asking them for money, we're giving it to them.
Right. Yeah. What were you saying, Johnny?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it replaces the old record sales adage, right? So instead of going off down to your local record store and buying the track, which these days people are very it's a different way of thinking. It's a different generation. It's a different world nowadays. So people aren't doing that because you've got your Spotify and all your other hubs out there. And it's so easy for you to get your music heard on Spotify these days, or Deezer, or what have you. Why would people buy it? That's the argument. But with the merchandise, and the reason I was asking you guys that question is because that is where, for bands, the ready bucks are. And
agreed.
If it's managed
100%.
properly,
that's the way that we see it. That's 100% the way that we see it. Yeah.
And if it's managed properly, like what you guys are doing, then everyone's a winner.
Right, and this is the only way we figured you can make the jump from a smaller band to something where your ticket sales are actually substantial enough to, make you some money.
Because ticket sales are part of it too. We're trying to get into boosting that for the local venues.
And you can only do that with exposure, right?
Right. But we feel like it, and we really appreciate those comments, Johnny, because we do feel like we're onto something with the merchandising. We hope to bring some sort of revenue stream back to these artists who work so very hard at their craft and have produced, to me, the stuff that's coming out right now, man, is just some of the best music I've heard in such a long time. I can't even tell you how excited I get about it.
Yeah, maybe it's because they're not making any money, and if you're doing it, it really is just from the heart.
For the music, man.
It sounds something similar to the British way that back in the 70s and the 80s, you know, back here in London, I remember going to see bands that were, well, they ended up becoming quite big, but back then there were no one, and they were playing for nothing, but the passion and the drive and the sheer, shall I say, spunk that they had in them was electrifying, you know?
Yes.
And that's what got took out a little bit.
Yes.
Everything got a little bit too sanitized, you know?
Yep.
But I think the hunger is back in there nowadays. I've seen a lot of bands in the London area that are damn good. They're just so good. But
we want to hear about those bands from you too. We want to get more exposure over there so that we can hear some of those bands over here. Silver Roller, not to mention the name out there, but Silver Roller was a band that I started to listen to from over there, and I just think they're great. And there's just so much great music over there. So we think, you know,
we've got names. You know, I was going to ask you guys, what's the live scene like right now in the States? Is it still as prevalent as it always used to be?
I can tell you right here in the Tampa Bay area, it is very busy. Most of Central Florida is fantastic. Now, I'm on groups on social media with people from around the country, and I don't really, there's areas, you know, but there's
pockets.
There are pockets, but there's a lot of areas out there where there just aren't a lot of options in terms of venues and bands to listen to out there.
We recently went to the House of Blues, and I just got to interject this one because it was a packed house. It was all about metal. And it was on fire, man. I was so excited. We did a couple interviews there, but it was just a great scene. So there are hot spots still, man, where, you know, rock and roll metal is definitely.
That's right. But I would argue that Central Florida is definitely one of the very hot spots in the nation for music.
Seems like it is,
Great. That's really good to hear. Yeah, and I'm sure, you know, you're going to get a lot of feedback from your listeners around the States that obviously giving you a lot of feedback saying, hey, we can rival you, blah, blah, blah. And that's really good to know then if people are going to come back and do that.
Yeah, right. Well, you know, when I started to get back into this, when we really started to get out and play, as getting out there and playing with these other bands, I just couldn't believe it, man. And I thought, you know, somebody has got to do something, man.
Yeah, we started holding them down and interviewing them and everything. And
you know that feeling, man. You know what it was, man. Back in the day, you know, when you first heard maybe a Pink Floyd album or a Black Sabbath album, not to date myself, but there was a feeling, man. There was a feeling there, you know. And I've been getting that feeling again from these bands, and that is what's incredible. Man.
Yeah, there's energy in it.
You can feel the hunger, can't you? You can feel the taste. It's like the taste of blood, isn't it? It's like they want more. They want to go out there and do it, you know?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, man, hey, Johnny, I do have to cut this interview short, try to keep it at 30 minutes. But, man, I want to do this
already?
again.
It's gone. Always goes fast when you're having fun, right?
Right. It has been fun.
It's great talking with you.
And I want to do this again. And after the interview, let's get something going. And, man, I'm just really excited to work with you. I think it's the perfect opportunity for American Medical Magazine to have some of our artists on your show, and we just can't tell you how much we appreciate that.
No, that's really cool. Thank you very much, David. It's been a pleasure to chat with you guys.